Welcome to Anvil Airsoft TV in association with TaiwanGun.com. In this episode we're going to be looking at and range testing the CM.098 E edition from Cyma. This is an SR25 style DMR with a Mark 11 type front end. Keep watching to find out more about it, how it performs and just how far it can shoot. TaiwanGun sent me the Cyma CM.098 E edition to review for their channel. So let's take a look at what you get in the box. Of course, you get the replica itself. You get a high capacity magazine. This takes around 500 BBs and can be wound via the dial on the base plate. A cleaning rod, a small manual and TaiwanGun test certificate. You also get a trickle charger and a 9.6 volt NIM battery. The replica is made mostly from alloy die castings and some aluminium extrusions. The metal parts include the MOC suppressor, gas block and gas tube, backup iron sights, outer barrel, rail, upper and lower receiver, the charging handle and selector levers. The polymer parts include the stock and the pistol grip. Inside the V2 long gearbox we find a cycle detection MOSFET and a quick change spring. It can be accessed without removing the gearbox. You do have to take the stock off though. This model chronoed at 460 FPS on a 0.2 gram BB. Inside it also has a full steel rack polycarbonate piston, a CNC machined steel gear set, 8mm ball bearings, a CNC machined aluminium piston head and cylinder head, a double O-ring aluminium cylinder head, a ball bearing spring guide and a high torque neodymium motor. Also has a polymer rotary hop-up chamber. The CM.098 is a close match to the real-life SR25 manufactured by Knight's Armament Company. The SR25 was created in the early 1990s based on Eugene Stoner's original AR10 design, and it fires a 7.62 by 51mm NATO round. US SOCOM quickly saw its potential as a designated marksman rifle and adopted a modified version as the Mark 11 Mod 0. The original SR25 was sold with a round fiberglass free float tube. The Mark 11, however, used the CAC RAS2 free float quad rail. The Mark 11 was eventually updated and used by the rest of the US Army as the M110. The 7.62 by 51mm NATO round allows the marksman to reach out further and hit harder than the standard 5.56 by 45mm NATO round used by the rest of the squad's riflemen. This was very much needed due to the longer range firefights happening in modern warfighting. There are two other models in this range. They both feature M-LOK compatible rails and sliding stocks. One has a 16-inch outer barrel and the other has a 20-inch. They more closely resemble the modern commercial SR25s that Knight's Armament Company is producing. Have a look at those if the styling is more appealing to you. So let's have a look at the features of the Cyma CM.098 E edition. Starting from the muzzle end, the replica has a quick detach MOC suppressor. Although lengthy, it's still shorter than the real one. This can be removed by pulling up on the release latch. It is spring loaded, so it will pop up once released like this. To put it back on, slide it back over the barrel with the release latch either at the top or at the bottom. Push it down against the spring pressure and press the latch back into position. The gas block has M1913 rails top and bottom. CM.098 comes with a flip-up front sight mounted to the top section. This can easily be removed via this bolt if you don't want to use it. It also has a rifle length gas tube fitted, which is a really nice touch. The rifle has a 12-inch railed free float handguard. This is a close representation of the Knight's Armament Company RAS2 as fitted to the real SR25 and SOCOM Mark 11s. It's nicely made from aluminium and is very stiff. There is plenty of space on the handguards to fit all the accessories that you may want. For my testing, I fitted this adjustable 6 steps bipod with a RIS mount adapter, also available from TaiwanGun.com. It's a Harris style bipod and matches the style of the Replica well. The upper and lower receiver are of a milled style rather than the forged that you may be used to with an older style SR25 or Mark 11. They are angular and have some really interesting design features. However, the controls will be immediately familiar to anyone that has used an AR10, M16, M4 style of airsoft replica. The mag release is on the right hand side and can be reached with the trigger finger. The magwell itself is flared for faster reloads. The charging handle can be pulled back to reveal the rotary style hop unit. To add hop, you turn the wheel upwards. To reduce hop, you turn the wheel downwards. The mock bolt cover locks back until you press the bolt release on the left hand side. The fire selector has 3 positions: safe, semi and auto. Due to British firearms laws, I asked for this replica to be semi-locked before it was shipped to me. As the CM.098 has an in-gearbox MOSFET with cycle detection, this should mean that it's able to avoid any lockup. If you want the same done to yours, then make sure you ask for it to be semi-locked in the comments box when you order it. The top of the upper receiver has M1913 Picatinny rail on it. This will allow you to mount the optic of your choice. I mounted this Scope M3 3.5 to 10 power by 50 with lighted cross military version onto this one. It's a really good match for this DMR and looks the part, being a clone of a real tactical scope. Moving back, we find a CAC style 600 meter backup iron sight. This can also be removed if you want to, or if you need to mount a low optic. Behind this is the charging handle. This is very similar to the PRI gas buster that was mounted on the real rifle and is another nice touch. The stock is a CAC style sniper stock and has an adjustable length of pull by pushing in on this button and pulling back like this. If you pull the rear of the stock all the way out, this reveals the battery compartment. Due to the adjustable pull system, this can be a bit restrictive. If you want to use a really big large capacity battery, it may be easier just to remove the rear of the stock entirely using these 2 screws. The stock also features QD sockets on both sides to attach a sling. The connector is mini Tamiya. So now we've talked about the features of the CM.098, let's take it to the range and see how it performs. Hello and welcome back to Thurliston Airgun and Archery Centre on this very fine sunny day. We're going to put the Cyma CM.098 through its paces on our range today, and for that I'm going to use these electronic attack sense targets that flash when I strike them with a BB, so you can see and I can see when I've hit the target. Today we're going to have these out at 50, 60, 70, 80 and 90 metres for this DMR Cyma. Let's get going. Okay, so let's do the range test on the Cyma CM.098. Got it set up with this scope and bipod from TaiwanGun.com, and we're going to start off today using BLS Perfect BBs. We've got 0.36 gram and 0.4 gram BBs, as this is a DMR and it's pretty powerful. Right, so we're going to load up with 3.6s and then do a chrono test. 315, 315, 316, 316, 313.6, 314, 315, 315, 315, 315. So pretty consistent. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to establish the effective range. And we call effective range to be able to land 5 out of 10 shots onto a torso size target, which handily is the same size as the attack sense target. pretty happy there. Need to do some clicks. Right, let's move on to 60 metres. Okay, so that's effective at 60. So the .36, I can land shots at 60. I've got a couple at 70, but it's very hard to be consistent. So we'll load up and we'll go for a maximum range test. Maximum range with a .36 gram BB is about 75 to 76 metres. Now we'll move on to the .4s. Okay, we're on 0.4 gram Billis precision BBs. So we'll just shoot chrono again. 280, 282, 285, 285, 288, 287, 286, 286, 285, 286, 60 metres. Okay, 60 metres not a problem. Move on to 70. Seems to really like these BLS .4s, so it's effective at 70. Let's try for 80. Okay, so effective range with the CM.098 is about 70 metres. Maximum range is just shy of 80 metres at about 78, 79 with a 0.4 gram BB. So we've finished the range tests and here we are in the workshop on the bench to have a look at the internals. So let's get going. First thing we'll do is take the upper off. Take the barrel out and then put the upper to one side. Got a nice crown and the ability to add an O-ring via this groove to stabilise the inner barrel in the outer. Barrel appears quite nicely made. Okay, let's disassemble this bit. So the next thing we need to do is take the stock adjust off. Simply unscrew that. Put these in a safe place. So the sling loop at the back is held on by this bolt. If you want to run a really big battery, you may need to do this anyway. So we've got, that's our mini Tamiya battery connector. Right, so we have, okay, now this screw we're going for is about here, so obviously we need a big old screwdriver to get to it. One of the reasons I really like this is it has this relatively quick change spring on the back. So we've already seen doesn't take too long to get the stock off and get to this quick change spring. So we're going to be careful we don't fire this across the room. Little O-ring seal here. Okay, so this is steel spring guide with a bearing on it. So if you want to use this as a DMR, depending on your country's laws, or even site to site, like in the UK, there may be different rules for how powerful DMR can be, and it's relatively easy to get the stock off and change the spring on this. Next thing we'll do is take the motor off. Now we've got Torx nuts here. Again, it's nice to see the motor adjust screws into a brass insert. Stiff, relatively strong motor. Needs a bit of effort to turn it over. As always, you want to make sure your screwdriver is a good fit on any fasteners so you don't strip them. So we have a tiny little Torx head on the mag ready. Let's get a bit worried there, but I remembered I had a tiny little screwdriver set. So if you want to take this apart, you will need some fairly small Torx head drivers. When you take the fire selector off, there's a ball bearing detent. You need to make sure you don't lose that. So there's a little spring just here. Ball bearing sits on there. Okay, and we'll do the other side. Again, I'm going to be careful to make sure I don't lose anything underneath this. Same thing again. All you need to do to move the bolt release is take a small Allen key, hooks in, and you just push it out. Bolt release comes through as well. Ambi selector runs on these gears. Just pay attention to the orientation that this was in before you take it out of the gearbox. That'll help you reassemble it. Okay, so we're down to the gearbox. As you can see, the gearbox is a 2.5 or version 2 extended. It has extended cylinder and piston. Some radiusing at these front corners. So what I'm going to do is take the bolt release off. We're going to be very careful with this. Put my finger over this spring, take the bolt release off. Safe, we really don't want to lose this, fire it across the room. Open the gearbox shell and see what we got. Okay, should we open her up? Shim's in the right place. We'll do a shimming test later. Okay, so there is your gearbox. This is a MOSFET. So let's do a quick gearbox tour. Right, start with the air compression parts. Normal tappet plate. To be fair, the compression in this is pretty good. It's pretty consistent. Very normal nozzle. Compression's okay with the nozzle on. Very good. Compression's very good without the nozzle. Here's your piston. Full rack of teeth. This is an enlarged piston because it's a 2.5. Really nice aluminium vented piston head. Looks like a bearing spring guide. Cylinder is pretty clean. Pretty smooth. There's no sharp edges in there. And we have corresponding aluminium cylinder head, double O-ring. Mates up really nicely. Gears are CNC, well lubed. Standard Cyma blue lube. Again, they look really nice. Traversal latch. Spur gear. And they're running on bearings. Here's a look inside the gearbox case. So what we're going to do now is pop the gears back in and have a look at the shimming. There's very little play in the gears. Shimming seems really good for a stock gun. Really happy with that. Okay, some final thoughts. Really happy with this. As a stock DMR, get shots out to 80 meters, accurate enough out to 65, 70 meters. Some nice internal components, good gears, shimming's good. There are some lovely bits like the cylinder head and piston head and the spring guide. I mean, the motor's pretty decent. So absolutely solid. As again, this came to me lock to semi from TaiwanGun.com. If you want that service, be sure to put that in the comments box when you order it. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. Big thumbs up from me. I hope you enjoyed this overview and range test of the Cyma CM.098 E edition, courtesy of TaiwanGun.com. We think it's a great low-cost way into playing with a DMR type airsoft replica. Fantastic for anyone wanting to do a modern US Special Forces loadout. If you want to see more from me, then head over to Anvil Airsoft TV on YouTube and you'll find more than 100 videos to watch on a huge range of subjects. Thanks again to TaiwanGun.com for making this review possible. Stay safe and we'll see you next time.